Today is our last day of seminar, and well, it has been very useful. Um, we have shared and learned different topics. Just to remind you some important rules in here. To sign the list, do your assignments, and well, keep the microphones off, and ask and answer the questions. Those are the rules. So thanks. Mhm.
Thank you, Randy.
Mhm.
Well, my dear participants, colleagues, this is our last day of seminar. We have had a trip from Monday till today, and we have learned a lot. We have learned beyond words what communication is, cultural communication. So I hope you enjoyed today's trip. Thank you. So let's go ahead with Professor Raphael.
Yeah, Professor Cardenas, you have the microphone. Oh,
Okay, so I'm about to share my screen. Just a second. Let me know. Yeah, I hope it's visible. Do you see
yes,
it?
yes.
Okay, we're fine then. Let me just make sure. All right. So yesterday we were talking about identity, right? Identity. Now, identity is a very intangible kind of construct. Why do I say that? Because this is something that we cannot measure, really. It's something immaterial. There is no way we can touch it. There is no way we can deal with it. It's what makes up individuals as well as human groups. So identities are related to national culture as well as these other layers of culture that we cannot see, we were talking about before. Since we're focused on the most important hemispheric variety of English, which is American English, standard American English, our conversation yesterday, ended here. I said I needed to start getting more and more into the kind of work we do. Because believe it or not, as English teachers, we're to some level promoters of a culture, promoters of a language, uh, but there's some problems that accompany our mission. Okay, one of those problems is that in the humanities, professionals of other branches of the humanities probably looked at us as replicators of a status quo. For many people, English teachers are seen as agents of an agenda coming from banner countries in order for them to impose their culture and their agenda on the rest of the world. The reality is that this is partly true because for historic reasons, English rose to become what it is nowadays. One of the things that I regret very much is that we still insist on not teaching certain things such as the history of the English language, which is so necessary because this is part of the background students need to acquire. It's an important repertoire, and I would call that like important element in their mission as professionals in second language education. Um, if we teachers do not have the opportunity to explain better how English became what it is at present, it's very difficult for a person to counter any attack coming from either locals or internationals who would try to tell you that what you do is not important, or what you do is that you are preserving the status quo, that you are an agent of BANA countries, that you are complicit in this scheme to tell people that their identity as a national of a foreign culture, foreign to English, is of a lesser status or second class type, or that your language is unimportant and that you need to change your culture. In reality, this is not our mission. As you all know, parents pay thousands and thousands of dollars in our country for the kids to acquire English. This is so because it's a language of prestige and success. And we need to defend it as it is, and we also need to use it in order to acquire status among the academic community, especially local academic community. There is a big gap right now from our area, which is foreign language education, in this case English, in the academy. Little by little, this has been filled with more and more production and research papers that are now gaining a great deal of visibility. All of this is very important so that people understand better what we do and don't feel like we're some kinds of maybe defenders of established status quo and world order, okay? Because that's not exactly what we do. I'm going to be talking about that shortly, right now, and I'm going to start today, this morning, with cultural paradigms that have to do with what is teachable in our context. As I was telling you before, we have an issue with native speakerism. People still claim that just by being a native speaker, a person gains a special status that allow them to teach English the right way. That any other way which is not culturally tuned to one of the two main educated varieties of English, either standard American English or received pronunciation from the UK, this person's just not doing it right. And the best effort you could do as a non-native speaker is like to try to simulate what a native speaker does. As a matter of fact, this is a fallacy. It's a fallacy because what non-native speakers bring to the table is an added value of experience, of cultural resilience, of understanding of different ways of behavior. It's, this contribution in terms of the shaping of an identity. Nowadays, American people cannot claim that they're pure Americans. In that country, there are probably maybe around 100 million people with some kind of Hispanic heritage. So Americans, they may tell you that Spanish is second class or second level language in their country. But if you go to big cities like Chicago, as you walk downtown, down Wabash Street, for example, or the business district, you'll discover that there's signs everywhere in both languages. Big cities like Chicago, which is an example I can bring up here, have become largely bilingual settings. As you go on the subway, across the lines on the subway in Chicago, for instance, you'll discover that everything is in the two languages, English and Spanish. And if you start doing some research about what's going on with the schools and the curriculum in the United States, there are quite a few of those schools that are employing bilingual teachers, probably by the hundreds of thousands, if not probably millions, because there is a need and there is a demand for Spanish language. So present day America is not only English. It has a shared history with this part of the world, Latin America, where we are. Okay. So it's very important, first of all, to establish respect that we deserve as part of all of that, creation, which is made up by, so many nationalities that they call the United States of America. That's the first thing. Secondly, I must tell you that we have the experience. Non-native speakers know what it takes for a person to be able to carry himself or herself in a foreign culture and a foreign environment. And there's so many of us Spanish-speaking people living in that country and elsewhere. So I cannot think right now of a pure English America, because that really doesn't exist. And I think probably it never existed. So yes, there is mainstream English speaking culture. That's one thing. But there is also the presence and contribution of Hispanic heritage into America. Then I'm going to be speaking now about a very concrete situation. We have to understand now that academy generally, likes or puts on the spot, right, what the reality is. And as I am communicating in this slide, okay, writers who are multilingual, and for that purpose also bilingual, they are the ones who probably know more, okay? Why? Because they are across cultures. They're working across cultures. And either people like it or not, you just have to look at the research production or literary production, both in Latin America, Europe, in the States, and you'll discover that many, many more bilingual and multilingual writers are the ones who are taking the lead. They are the ones who know where they're going and where they come from. So they have a much more wholesome vision of the world. And here I have an impression from a non-native speaker teacher below. You can see that, of a person who had to teach, to a group of native speakers. Probably this person felt he didn't have the insecurity of not knowing if he or she could offer anything to these people who supposedly know everything. As a matter of fact, there are lots of things that you know that they don't. And those are related to your experience, essentially, about your status of being someone who has been across cultural boundaries, that enriches a person's background and makes him or her highly effective in providing a fresh view on many, old visions or ideas concerning so many things. In the case of writing, I should tell you that someone who has struggled with mastering writing across cultures and across languages has a very important say. Why? Because this person can tell you the way it is and do what we call comparative analysis. Comparative analysis is only for those who are familiar with cultures and languages. So this area is just like secluded or closed for those who are pure native speakers. They just know one way, and this is the only way for them. A non-native speaker generally knows different ways, and generally in most of the cases, will find his or her way. Okay. So look at the image. Okay. The question is, who is the better teacher? Okay. We have Pavel, certified teacher and non-native speaker, or Susan, right, uncertified native English speaker. Now, there's still people thinking that those who were born as native speakers, who label themselves as speakers of this language, like for their whole lives, are better equipped to teach this language. The reality is that languages lack ownership. No one may claim ownership over a language, right? This is a fact. And the ugly truth is that a lot of this I'm talking, it has to do with this issue that I'm showing here, displaying here on this slide. There is racism, and we see a lot of that because I understand native speakers of English are probably they're disputing a market, right? It's a big market. There is a lot of money. I had figures on how much is produced through from the ELT industry, but that is probably the amount of money is, I don't know, impossible to really ascertain, because it's a global phenomenon and it's a huge industry. Of course, there are big markets and better paying markets and others that are not as important. But the reality is that there are more non-native English speakers who are teachers than native speakers. Not even in the United States, they have enough native speakers available to teach English to kids, mainly because there's this rejection and this racism element also. You can have, for instance, it's not very common to have white teacher who's an Anglo-Saxon teacher willing to teach a group of only Latino students. That could be a problem. That could be a problem. I'm talking elementary school, maybe high school. In some districts are like lower, lower class, or they have socioeconomic limitations. So a more successful teacher would be a Hispanic person, or an English teacher with Hispanic heritage who can also communicate and relate to what is the struggles and the situation this migrant populations are going through. So it is challenging for us to be in this industry, given that we have all of these limitations that seem to be imposed, but little by little, all of these barriers are falling. This is the reality. And as I was telling you before, even big names in English language teaching industry, such as ELS, which is an important language center, and I say that not because there's a franchise of that company in Panama. I say it because this is one of the few ones that I've seen privately owned English language sector from second language education companies that is based in many campuses in the States. Even here, they claim there are advantages and disadvantages to having a native English teacher, a native English speaking teacher, I mean. This person could offer you some advantages, such as a very good and polished pronunciation, but there is also a psychological price paid for having this person as a model, because, as you know, it would be nearly impossible for a person to read themselves or himself of an accent inherited from an L1 condition that they already have. So achieving target like phonetic or phonological production, like that really approximates and reduces accent, will only do that, reduce accent, but you will not obtain native like type of pronunciation in 100% of the cases. This is impossible, and the presence of this English speaking native speaker cannot guarantee that. The same happens across other areas, where you could probably learn more or better is more information about the culture and ways people carry themselves in their context. But beyond that, there isn't much more that can be offered. In general terms, unless a native speaker is qualified, he or she is generally ineffective at teaching grammar and some other key components for the development of proficiency. So there are the disadvantages, you see. And non-native, on the other hand, may not be so interested in cultural matters, but if this person is trained, he or she may do similar work. And there is like no need like to say that this person is going to grant you something different or like a better quality of English. People will make mistakes, and learners will make mistakes, and it's necessary for them to make mistakes. So if you think of an mistake-free English, this is something that doesn't happen. Now, what would probably make the difference is the context, right? So, for instance, what we do at the department, just to bring an example we're familiar with, is that we immerse our students in an English-speaking situation. This is good because they gain lots of practice opportunities. That's what we need to, that's the direction we need to go to. There will always be challenges, but you shouldn't be discouraged because of your L1, which could be Spanish, could be, I don't know, Tagalog if you're a Filipino person, could be German if you're from Germany, etc., etc. All of this is extra information that students could benefit from very much. And now I'm going to go into what Academy informs us in terms of what it is that it's really going on with the English language industry. Since there is this dispute over the English speaking industry market, in 1992, this gentleman, Robert Phillipson, coined the term linguistic imperialism. Okay? Linguistic imperialism. English for economic, science, and educational reasons has been promoted as a language, as a lingua franca, that it became, it rose to power in that regard. And it, displaced French. That was during the last century, the one that occupied such a niche. Now English has become, but this is all coming from something important that we need to bear in mind, okay? That we need to bear in mind. Before I talk to you about imperialism, I'm going to very briefly refer to this. Circles of influence of English, right? Brach Cockrow, not that I want to brag, but he was a professor at University of Illinois. He and Yamuna Cockrow, his wife, they established this paradigm, because it started as a theory, now it's a paradigm that explains how the English language world is shaped or organized. As it seems, there is an inner circle of English-speaking countries that export their culture and language to the rest of the world. They do it through the media, and they do it also through cultural objects, or cultural artifacts of different nature, which are, for instance, the hamburger, fast food, a pair of Levi jeans, um, well, certain car brand names and so forth, things that they export, okay, that promote a standard. And there's an outer circle that was post-colonial. Since the British ruled, as we were saying yesterday, nearly 25% of the world, of the known world, civilized world, and uncivilized as well. This inheritance has created the need for many peoples to communicate through a lingua franca. Okay? For example, you have this groups of people like in India. You have the Pakistanis, and then you have a peace created among the people from Gaza and some other communities in the Middle East and so forth. And many of these groups, they communicate in English, believe it or not. And the reason for this is because it's the language of formality. It gained prestige because they were former British colonies. I'm talking about the old world. That includes Africa, parts of the Middle East, and even Asia. The reality is, as you see here, many of these countries of the outer circle, they have inherited English, and they have developed their own culture in English. Okay, that's why yesterday we were talking about the Anglosphere, many cultures and one language. Do you think the English from a person from Zambia or Sri Lanka or Uganda is not as good as the English spoken by someone from the UK or the US? If you think so, you're wrong. Okay, and probably you're racist too. And the reason is because, look, everyone is entitled to an identity. Okay, and this is something that is shaped by people's experiences and shared history. We have to overcome some outdated ideas about, racial superiority, because that's what's at the core of not thinking that there is validity in these other ways. And in many cases, someone from Hong Kong may call or have a contract or a deal with someone from South Africa, and they won't even talk to anybody who's a native speaker. And everything is going on in English. And that is the case of the BRICS, for example. Since there's so many different countries, the Chinese communicate with the Brazilians in English, because Brazilians don't know Chinese, and Chinese don't know Portuguese. So their lingua franca is English. And should we think that their English is lesser than the one spoken by native speakers, that they need some native speaker assistance for them to go about their business? This is not true. This is so untrue. So I must insist very much on this, because even the person who designed this was not a native speaker. Bharat Kakru was from India, and he migrated to the States. He lived in Illinois, in Champaign, or Urbana-Champaign, and well, until the time of his demise. And he crafted this analysis based on his understanding of international interactions. If he had been native speaker, probably he wouldn't have the opportunity, wouldn't have had the opportunity to analyze all of this and take it to the level of becoming a paradigm. Where are we in this map? We're probably, we were outer circle because of the former canal zone, right? Because we had so many native speakers of English here. But the canal the Canal Zone was mainly, as we said yesterday, an American project that excluded others. They even excluded the workers they brought from the West Indies. So the situation is that as that enclave, because it was an enclave, the enclave disappeared, then there is no more English in Panama. That's the reality. And many people feel this is good because probably we got the chance to free ourselves from some cultural, constraints and shackles, so to speak, that were imposed on us, and that the Panamanians have their own identity, which is in Spanish, right? We could probably value English, just like someone from El Salvador, Guatemala, elsewhere in Central America, maybe from someone from Colombians or whoever that is. But we know that English is not our cultural identity necessarily. So we have a shared history in our relations with the United States, but we are not American. And I don't think Panamanians are going to accept to become a part of the United States, regardless of whatever disrespectfully Mr. Donald Trump may propose to this president of ours, who I think he's just lost. This person is lost, doesn't have any dignity, he doesn't have any spine. So it's sad that I have to say it here, but I must say it because it's the truth according to Cardenas. This is the way I see it. And I think many people share my vision also. So there is an expanding circle, right? And people from the expanding circle are sometimes, engrossing now the outer circle. We were part of the outer circle. We went in the expanding circle, and I think we have remained in between these two important layers or circles of influence. But we do receive very much of that Bana country, British, Australian, North America influence. You just need to walk into any mall and you'll discover that most of the brands that we and the business models that have been promoted in our country, there are lots of cultural objects and cultural artifacts coming from North American culture. Does that mean that we have to reject them? Not necessarily, because we were born in this world, and we shouldn't feel that there is anything wrong, right, about it. So going back to Philipson claims in his seminal book, because this book has been published and republished, because this person created this based on a very interesting idea that there is some level of exploitation and probably abuse from a ruling or more developed culture over smaller or cultures that have a lesser population, probably, or a smaller population, or populations of a lesser importance. Remember that it's true that languages become important because of the people who speak that language, because of the population. So if you were part of an empire, you would impose your language over the other languages. There is a monolingual fallacy. According to Philipson, this means that in English-speaking inner circle, they tell you that you just need to teach everything in English, or you will not teach English at all. And hence we have then many methods that develop based on full immersion and only English speaking. The reality is that research hasn't really proven that you just have to speak only English for a person to learn English. Okay, probably in our context, that could have been the case, or probably that could expedite the learning process. But it hasn't been proven that it works for everybody, that they only need to speak English and forget about their L1 or never use their L1. I think in our country, this has been always almost impossible to have someone that goes, along the lines of monolingual ideas. Why? Because if you go to school, you go to work, you speak English over there. Let's say whatever the situation could be, maybe at the English department, or maybe in a multinational, you'll be speaking English, maybe at a call center. But when you walk out and you ride your transportation home or you get home, you're going to be speaking Spanish. You speak Spanish with your neighbors, and you need it for you to get by with your daily occupations. The native speaker fallacy. This is another one that Philipson fought, and he said that they're trying to tell you that for you to learn English, you need to have a native speaker teacher. So we are proof that this is a fallacy, because I have hundreds of students of mine that they speak good English, and they learn that from me and from my colleagues. And what are we? We are all non-native speakers. So this is not true, and it's not true here and in many parts of the world outside the inner circle countries that are trying to export to you their books, their CDs, their platforms, their softwares, and all that they design. And they would never, very, very seldom, this is another thing Philipson claims, very seldom they support material developed by non-native English teachers. They generally only support native speakers as a way to export what they call the pure culture, the pure and the real English, which is without any cultural boundary, really, because as it's an international language, people from different parts of the world may use it. May have a person from, as I was saying, someone from China communicating with a Brazilian, and they don't even know the United States, and they don't even know, they've never been to set foot on the UK. And that communication is going on regardless of their presence or their interest. They'll never know it exists, even. So the early start fallacy. So according to Philipson, they say that the earliest you start learning English, the better that'll be for you. Well, that is also not backed up by research. Okay, this is not supported by research. What happens is that the earlier you are exposed to the phonological inventory of phonemes, of either British or American English mainly, the easier it's going to be for you to produce target-like, phonemes and forms. So the more experience you have and the earliest exposure is, probably the better you will sound. But that doesn't necessarily mean or guarantees that you will be a good speaker of a language, that you could become certified and achieve a C2 level according to the Common European Framework. That's not even English speaking necessarily, because as you know, the UK is outside the European Union. This is something crafted by the Europeans because they have to live in a society that has more than 30 languages, and they need to ascribe value to each and every one of those languages because they're all members of the European Union. And they understand that respect is important. Okay? They don't aspire to rule the world, but they're trying to provide an example on how to respect other cultures and other languages and live together, The maximum exposure fallacy is also another thing. What that is look, that you have to be exposed to English for many, many hours for you to become effective in a language. Look, that could even alienate someone. People who have achieved a higher level of proficiency could probably improve their listening comprehension. But if a person is at the early stage, you will not learn because you are being bombarded by a language that you don't really understand much. That could create language anxiety. Okay, this is what SLA research reveals at present. So it is not true that you will always benefit in all cases from this maximum exposure to English that you need to be immersed in order for you to get or achieve a C1, C2 level. Many people would just get alienated by the situation. It's not true. And how do we know this? Because there are people who live, for instance, in Panama. Let's take, for example, a group, an ethnic group such as Chinese, maybe. They live here for 20 years and they don't necessarily learn Spanish, right? The same thing happens in the United States when we have Spanish-speaking people living there and for many, many years, and they don't learn English. Okay, that's why many of them are being deported. They cannot defend themselves. They're defenseless. They cannot have a driver's license and so many things. It's because they never mastered English, even though English is all around them. So ultimately, this is not true either. The subtractive fallacy. This is when they claim that you have to, turn all your books, into like import your books from the UK, import your books from the US, and never use materials or other resources, educational resources from other cultures. Well, this is not true because if you start studying German and you eventually study books written in German, you will be exposed to German language and culture, and that is enriching. If you read material from French, or maybe you have some French novel, and you expose yourself to this other culture, you will benefit from that. Also in Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, any language. The more languages you know, the better it is, because the norm is multilingualism and bilingualism, not monolingualism, which is subtractive. They're trying to take over in many parts of the world to tell people. For instance, that happened a lot in Indonesia and Malaysia, that they would tell these people, well, we have all these books in Western language. Your Eastern language is probably not as important, or it's not an international language. People in other parts of the world don't know it, so your education should be in English. That, of course, affects very much a culture and an identity. So, of course, there is resistance, you see, and people take this with a grain of salt and all that, because it's like Panama bilingüe. So this program had a positive name, bilingüe, because bilingual offers like both languages, or considers both languages, with its mistakes and its right decisions. This is the proper approach to something like this, that you have to respect people's culture and then you offer something else, but not that you're going to be replacing Spanish for English only. Then we have a problem here. We have a problem here because we have to respect all people's identities, right? So, well, according to Philipson, inner circle countries, they have much interest in keeping this rule. So some cultural or linguistic imperialism to some extent. Okay. So comparing American English, or ESL, English as a second language, which is more of an American term than anything. In Europe, they don't use that much. What they say instead is probably English as an international language, or English as an additional language, additional, EAL, because they abide by other paradigms, right? Other paradigms that are more egalitarian, right? among languages. They try to preserve languages and cultures' importance because all of that is enriching. So the reality is that what I've discovered is that the British teach for the world. They seem to respect more uh, uh, other countries' identity and first language, whereas in the United States, if you go there, it's because you're going to become a part of that country. Okay, they want to assimilate you, and they acculture you. You're going to become a part of it. Not necessarily for the British. They teach you, and you remain who you are, and it's okay to be who you are. The way I see it in the United States is not so. They expect everybody to turn into an American. Is this okay? I really disagree that this is the right way. And this is creating problems in the world because look, you may export and your culture, but you don't necessarily have to assimilate people into your culture and tell them that there is something wrong with them if they speak their L1 in the street, or if you listen to them and you don't understand them. That doesn't necessarily mean that this person is a terrorist with some kind of a plan to bomb a building or anything. So you see the tension this resistance is creating. If there was a paradigm of respect and language equality, then these things wouldn't be happening, and you would not think that when you have two people speaking Spanish or Tagalog, or maybe Arabic, it's not because they're planning to bomb a car, or that they're gonna go after the white people and kill them, or after any American and kidnap anybody. So this is no way for a person, I mean, for a society to live, right? And I know some people may probably reject this, but well, this is it. As I was saying before, many countries they have their own culture in English. That's the case of the many African, post-colonial Africa, and same as in the case of post-colonial India. This big important country, same happened in other parts of the world. They many of them kept this English as a way for them to carry their business and do whatever it is that they wanted to do. So I think the British approach is probably a little better. So here we go. The American way is more assimilation and acculturation. Okay, acculturation is outdated nowadays. We can't speak of acculturation anymore. Okay, we cannot have anybody change because this could be good for the country, right? For the country you're living in, but that's not very good for the individual because it's alienating. Okay? We need to respect people's heritage, ideas, religion, etc. We cannot change or alter their values in such a way. And there's these notions of a dominant culture, right? This is so disrespectful. You cannot see um, immigrants as like this unimportant people that need to be changed and transformed because they well there's a lot of resistance, there's so much resistance involved in this. So we pay a price. Now I have a question for you because I've been speaking so much. I'd like to know if you uh see eye to eye with me in terms of for instance, that there are these layers or spheres of influence of the English language. And considering our context, Panama, do you agree with me that we are somewhere between the outer and expanding circle.
Good morning, everyone. Professor, I consider we are in the expanding circle area since the population who handles English here in Panama is very few. Can you hear me?
Yes, just fine. Yes, very good.
So that's the reason why I consider that we here in Panama are in the expanding circle.
Interesting point. Is there a reason why you think so? You said it's because people who speak English are like what, limited, you say?
Yes, the amount of people who speak the language is still limited. I mean, English is not needed in everyday life here in Panama. So you go to the supermarket, you go to the bank, you go wherever, but you don't need English for that. So just for specific situations, tourism, maybe you're teaching, maybe we are learning, we are taking a seminar, we are taking a course, we are attending a conference or something like that. But in the everyday life of citizens here in Panama, we don't need English. Not yet, I mean.
Okay.
Professor, good morning.
Morning.
Could you repeat your point of view to be cleared? And because I understood that you said that we are in between the expanding circle and the outer circle. That you
Yeah.
said?
Yes, that is right. Do you agree with this?
It's interesting because as the professor mentioned, we we are we are not. I consider we are not in the expanding circle. Um, First of all, for the needs that we have to get a good job with good salaries and good good position, we need the English. Nowadays, we need the English language. Okay, and also here in Panama, we we have a strong influence, not specifically for the reason that all of us are going to talk English, but this influence, if I am talking about um, the social influence for different reasons. We are groups here in Panama that speak English. They speak English in their communities. They speak English in their own groups, and they communicate in that way. And also for the work conditions, for the work opportunities. Well, of course, we can't part of the outer circle, but uh, yes, I agree. We are in the line because the rest of the country, we don't share. We don't share probably. If we look Colombia, for example, that it's close with us, or Peru, that it's in the south part, uh, we don't have the same conditions. We had been having contact with English in many years from different ways. From the Caribbean side, from the people from the Caribbean side that came to Panama during the construction of the railroad, the American Canal, um, and also for this uh, this position about the word needs.
Thank you very much for your opinion. Yes, there is no right or wrong answer here, really. But I think it's that we, mostly must come to a, to realize that Panama has been moving from the outer circle to the expanded circle, and that's is connected to Panama gaining its own sovereign and control over territory and developing its identity. this is, as you know, evolving. So we haven't probably reached where we're supposed to be, right? But we're in the process of achieving that. But
Professor Cárdenas,
sure, go ahead.
taking advantage of all that you have speaking before, I can stand why exactly why we as a Panamanian we don't have a bigger influence of the English language in Panama, because when each time when we visit as the teacher that speak before, we go to the pharmacy, we go to the supermarket, and uh, you go directly to the hotel, restaurants, and you immediately you can note the influence of the language in everything you, the merchandise, the articles, everything that exports and expose in the supermarket. You see that here in Panama as a contrast. In contrast, as in other Latin American countries, we don't see nothing written in using the English language. And then I can stand why always the enterprises and companies in Panama, they ask for bilingual people. I can stand, and here is a contrast phenomenon, because I can stand why this happened in Panama. I don't know if you can, okay, explain why, a reason by which we are not totally bilingual in Panama. Thank you.
Sure. Well, this is an interesting question, and it's empirical. Remember, as we said before, language was used for gatekeeping in the Canal Zone. What is this notion of gatekeeping? Is that if you didn't speak American English like an American, that was you had to be rewired in order to become a native speaker. You would not have access to the canal positions that were taken by Americans. And if you didn't speak their kind of English, that was a reason why you could not aspire to the same positions that white people occupied or were, they took. That is the gold role and the silver role. This is not only about salary. It was also about access to positions. So there was no way you would become someone important in a canal operation as a manager, or probably, I don't know, a pilot or anything like that, right? If you didn't speak American English, right? If you spoke West Indian English, probably they would not give you that opportunity. You could not apply to those positions. And if you're a Spanish speaker, you would not even be considered for anything, because you were not a part of the ruling class that was at the top of the pyramid, really, concerning the pyramid that we saw yesterday. So at the very top of it, there was the Sonians, and then came the Criollos, and then the rest of society. Now that the Sonians are gone, the Criollos rule. This is the reality. But then our Criollos, that's mainly white people of Spanish heritage, in general. It's many of them are binational. They are Jewish Panamanian, Greek Panamanian, French Panamanian, American Panamanian, so to say, and many of them then also speak English. So it's like a new caste or a new group. They are trying to help the rest of society, improve, and little by little, they have developed some programs. They say they're trying to help the larger sections of the population to learn English, but they're not really doing much in terms of education, really. you don't listen to any of our politicians seriously, assuming a commitment to help the Panamanians speak English as an government initiative. So that happened once under Varela administration, and again before under Mireya Moscoso's administration, but that was for very particular reasons. Some things they wanted to prove probably, or some businesses, some kinds of lines of business that they were trying to promote in our country. But we haven't seen anything like that after them. This is a fact. So this is very important and useful information to bear in mind whenever you make a decision to elect a president, because we want presidents with proposals, not people who are in office to improvise some plan, right? So here we go.
Excuse me,
Talking, sure,
De
go
Leon.
ahead. Yeah, Professor De Leon, I think you wanted to say something. Is that so?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. That's the way I like it. When I was a student, my master's degree, papers concerning the imperialism of the language of English began to circulate. Most of the students in this master's program came from all over the world, from India, China, Russia, Latin America, and of course, we were there. So Philipson published in 1992, getting together all these things that had been going already as a hot topic, because we were specializing in the teaching of English. Now, my conclusion at this point is that English is a utilitarian language, utilitarian channel. Why? They control the media. If you want to publish a wonderful research study, and if you published in La Estrella de Panamá or Crítica, it doesn't have any influence on anybody. But if it goes to these international publishers in the United States, and they translate that into English, that takes world coverage. So they have control, utilitarian control, that contributes to our overwhelming paradox, the name of the two additional circles. See, in Panama, we use English as a foreign language. By definition, people who use the language for purposes of reading, education, jobs. Or ESL is not present here. It's the second language of a country, like the case of India, in which they have English as an official language in the country. We don't have that situation. Then you don't have to be a native speaker to enjoy the language. Somebody in the Sri Lanka might enjoy reading Shakespeare, reading news or sports magazines, etc., etc. In my experience, when I was working at the CEPA, the Transnational Center, Binational Center, they used to bring give shelter to backpackers, those people who traveled with a backpack and were left stranded in Panama and they needed money to go back to the States. They began teaching English. And my students came to me frequently asking for clarification. For example, I remember the case of this person teaching English in an advanced course because he was a native speaker. And then he used the expression that neither and either. Neither is used for singular subjects, and the other one is used for plural subjects, which is a totally wrong invention. So I had to explain that. Now, what happens with a non-native speaker is a person who has traveled the road, a person who began with a zero knowledge of the language and went through all the stages up to the present, in which his interlanguage is almost 100%. See? So he knows exactly where the pitfalls are, where he can speed up, where he can slow down, because he understands what he's doing. See? And then I enjoyed reading Philipson, and I still enjoy reading his, and I like the way he calls these situation fallacies, because that's where they are. See? Fallacies. What about writing a textbook by Panamanian teachers who know exactly where to go, how to go there, how to get there? I wrote a book for my students a few years ago in tourism, a set of dialogues, 25 dialogues about different tourist attraction destinations in Panama City. And my experience was appalling. Most of them didn't know what Casco Viejo meant. Where is it? How do I get there? I had to organize a trip there. See? And the same thing goes for, they only know how to take a train to get home and to the university, and that's it. That's all that matters. Okay, so we're definitely facing moments in which these things can be brought to the open. And let's face them as professionals. Okay, thank you very much. And by the way, Rafael, congratulations. There has been very, very enriching conversation all throughout the week.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you too. So, well, now, I would like to tell you that when we talk about a framework for world Englishes, the American Standard English and British English, essentially, that were in the center, they have just been replaced, right? There is a new concept right now, and this is the current paradigm. We have a world standard English that is made up by these other standard English or standardizing forms of English, okay? And then outside that, there's also different, so many international kinds or forms of English. And the reason for this is that we live in a post-colonial world after the days of the English Empire, the British Empire, okay? I don't know if you agree with this. Take a look. I don't know if you could think of, probably we could have a Panamanian English somewhere. Well, either you agree or not, the reality is that this has been much more accepted than what there was before. And the reason for the prior structure was because I think, as I'm saying, you know, in this seminar, there's this dispute over the English speaking market. And well, that's not the case anymore, because there's so many varieties of English, and people are learning English from non-native English teachers in so many parts of the world. So it's not only American and British English or Australian English, okay, or Canadian. So it's a world standard English that has been established. So this is the new paradigm. This is the current paradigm, okay? And this is not so because I say it. This is what the world has become right now at present. in our 21st century. So I think it's okay. I see I have a couple more minutes.
Professor Lozano is raising his hand.
You'd like to okay, go ahead, Professor Lozano, go ahead.
Hi, morning everybody. I would like just to express an opinion. I agree with Professor Felipe when he says, first of all, that Panama is on the widest circle on the previous slide, because English in Panama is not even. Some people say that. I mean, it's been said that expanding circle. Thank you. It's been said that English is Panama's second language, but it's not even official actually. And exactly as Professor Felipe said, by the way society in Panama treats English, it really bashes the language and puts it on a second place. But it's not a close second, because you don't even use it. You don't even have to use it on a daily basis. And people in Panama um, prefer to speak Spanish um, always. And also, I agree with the next slide. The thing with languages and culture and all that is that um, we do live in a world that is very diverse, but some people cannot um, acknowledge that. Um, Funnily enough, because they think that the world revolves around them. And look, the framework is clear. We have language, the English language itself, influenced by a lot of cultures, and it as a result has this whole branch of English. And the world standard English, in my opinion, is basically uh, it's the things in common we have as English speakers, and nobody can deny, like the grammar rules. It's standard. It's regular. But the thing is that um, as people think that the world revolves around them, um, some people are unwilling to accept that English is spoken differently in various parts of the world.
Thank you very much for those insights. Thank you. Yeah, what you just said is so true. Yeah, we have two more, maybe two or three more people interested in sharing their thoughts. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think that internet had changed a lot of this panorama, because the access that people have now to other people, to native speakers, maybe to speaking English cultures, it had changed a lot. This scenario, I think, the fact that, for example, kids, they play online games, and they can play with other people in other countries, and it means that they use the language a little bit more and in a more natural way. Yeah. And the fact that today we don't have to go to the movies to watch a movie. We don't have to buy a special product to be encountered with the language. So I think it's changed, and it's not anymore like something that it's controlled. Like today, if we want to have a contact with any language in a daily basis, we only open our our cell phone, and we are in contact with Chinese or Mandarin, and sorry, Mandarin or Italian or whatever language we want to learn. So it, and not only about learning a language, that something that we do in college here in Universidad de Panama, but to acquire, to use it in a daily basis. I know people who are Panamanians and they like to speak in English, and it's not because they lost their identity or something. It's because they like to talk in that language. They sound even different. The voice sounds different. So I think the this has changed a little bit in terms of what people use as a language in and how they communicate. How, and the other thing I wanted to say is that I don't see Americans or Europeans very concerned about pronunciation in Spanish. So they live here very in any Spanish speaking country, very easygoing way, without without that concern of pronunciation. I always remember Gregorio Magrat, who was a bishop here in Panama, and he always kept his pronunciation, his way of speaking. He didn't have a good pronunciation in Spanish, and we always like him. So those two things I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is interesting insight also, and very, very germane. Okay. I think we have someone else. Is there anybody else interested in commenting? So what is curious about this image that I obtained, that I scanned, is that we don't have Latin America included here. Okay. And the reason is because Latin America is troublesome for English. Just take the former Canal Zone and also the Falkland Isles, Islas Malvinas for the Argentinians. There used to be English-speaking populations in these two parts of the continent, and look at the situations that occurred. In Panama, the American military left and disappeared, and there was a war in Argentina over the islands, you see, and fighting over who would own that. So sometimes this is all about ownership. So is it possible to claim ownership over a language? Can native speakers claim ownership over English? They don't own anything. Languages belong to the people who decide to use it. This is what you've been saying. This is what resonates at the end of all this, is that if you want to speak English, you can speak English wherever you are in the world and whoever you are. And no one should tell you what is right and what is wrong about your English, as long as you make yourself understood. So with this idea in mind, I think we're at 9:30. So Professor Marisol, I don't know if you'd like to have a word before we walk to recess.
Randy, where are you? Well,
Yes,
Randy
I'm
is the
here.
host.
I'm here. Well, yes, the topic for today has been very interesting, Professor Cardenas. Thank you for this presentation, the first round. So now we will go to break. It is 9:30, and we will be back at 9:45.
That's it. Thank you.
See you.
Begin our second round for this presentation. Oh, go ahead, Professor Cárdenas.
Sure. Do you guys listen to me?
Yes, we do.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, so coming back to this topic on standard English. So we see now that all of those outdated notions of the native speaker paradigm, all that has been left in the past. Now, multilingualism is the norm, and there is no prevalence of one language speaker population over others, because languages are just vehicles, and cultural content is for us to learn. Why do I say that? Because now we speak about intercultural competence. This is the current paradigm, and it's linked in many aspects, in many regards, to higher education, as we will see in this second phase of this presentation today. So what happens is that we have moved from ESL, EFL. You remember that those two main groups, or categories for English teaching, because ESL and EFL, they were categories that were based on nationality, territory, and population. But language is no longer bound by any territory or any ethnic or human group, really. It's now an international language. And Professor Lucy recently said something interesting, which is so true. It's because of technology. Now you can make calls and talk to Singapore, or have someone from Singapore reach out to someone elsewhere in the world, could be Australia, you name it, and do business without any concern about country. This is also very true and related to our context with the call center industry. When they send this call volume or packages to our call centers here in Panama, what they do is that they transfer all of this communication over the internet. And then a person is dialing for a call. They think inside the United States, and they're calling Panama, really. Or everything is being transferred for the calls to be received down here in our locations. And then there is no need for anybody to move or for you to do anything. Everything has been automated. And this is because of internet, because of technology, because of the way communication is taking place in the world nowadays. Now, people don't need to travel in order to communicate. Little by little, this is also becoming important in education. As you have probably noticed, after the pandemic, everything that is online has gained importance. And this has made education also international. So English, or EIL, which is the acronym I have right in the middle of this slide, is English as an international language. We don't speak in terms of ESL, English as a second language, for you to be a part of American society, or English as a foreign language. That'll be the English that you learn for you to communicate outside BANA countries, you see. Now, English is an international language that is used across the globe, right? And the reality is that there are two main varieties established, which is, as we've been speaking here, American and British English, and some major varieties spoken by native speaker populations, which are also important. As you see here, so we have Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. They're foreign language speakers, and there are other varieties. So we don't speak in terms of ESL, EFL anymore because we cannot be constrained by territory or people. This is now a language for international relations and international communication. So this is the common core. So as long as you make yourself understood, and you understand others and you can establish communication, that English is valid, okay? We cannot tell that one kind of English is better than another, not anymore. And especially if that is coming from someone who's a native speaker, because they may think that if they communicate with their own group, they are effective. Yes, but if they speak with other people, for instance, an American speaking to a British person, there will be limitations in that communication. And they may even be among Americans from different parts of the United States because it's a big country. As you can see in our prior slide, within American English, you take a look, there's the standard, Northern, Midland, Southern, Black English Vernacular, the Gula, Appalachian, and Indian, etc. And they're all valid because they have the population who speak it. And among the British varieties, you have BBC English, which is the standard, English, Scottish, Welsh, Irish, etc. And are they all valid? They are all valid. And guess what? You'd be surprised, as we've been, we've come to realize in this seminar that many instructors are not even native speakers. They're non-native speakers in many cases, also in those very same countries that are part of the traditional inner circle. So as long as a person is competent in English, they are the ones who can teach it. Personally, one of the professors who befriended me was African, and he spoke like 6 languages. His name is Bokamba, and this African professor in the University of Illinois was very, very good, really. This person came from, I think, from Tagalog. That was his Tagalog, his first language. Eventually, he said he learned French and then English and so forth. And he had some degrees that he studies in French. He studied those in French in his country. And then he went to the States and he studied in English at the University of Wisconsin. So this person even spoke Spanish, spoke Portuguese. So you see, as a matter of fact, I should tell you that multilingualism is the norm, not monolingualism. And it's a fallacy that you have to speak only one language for you to be good. It's important to speak more than one language. In our context, we tend not to value very much these ideas, but we need to consider that this is the new norm now, okay? Yeah, unfortunately, here on my screen, I don't know if you can see the title. Unfortunately, this title keeps reappearing. The thing over here, up here with controls. Yeah, there we go. So we're moving from ESL, EFL to English as an international language and English as an additional language, okay? If you talk to the Russians, And the Chinese, they don't even speak about EIL. They speak about EAL, which is English as an additional language. And many of their journals, because they do have their own journals that publish articles in English, they refer to English teaching in those contexts, specifically Russia, Vladimir Putin's Russia, and Xi Jinping's China. They generally refer to English as an additional language, because over there, they are, disputing also this language importance topic. So they don't see it much as the language we need to rely on for international relations. It's one of the different languages that we can use for communication. Probably right now, it's the most important one, probably, but it will not remain like that forever. So as we know, these things change. And who knows what language is going to come. That's going to be determined by history, right? It's going to come as the ruling language. We know that during the Roman Empire, Latin was the main language across the civilized world. And well, now English, has had its turn. So will English remain a lingua franca, or a language of contact, or will remain taught as an international language? That will depend on history. That will depend on history. So this is an important idea to think about, right? Okay, what about culture then? Where does that leave culture? Okay, fortunately, I obtained this interesting image that explains the core variety, the core literacy in English, how that works. We have a course at the English department that's entitled as integrated skills, right? Integrated skills. So the vision, widely accepted vision of integrated language skills brings all of these different elements that you can see listed over here. At the top, you have some of these aspects, such as your attitude towards the language, your motivation, self-confidence, motherland awareness, and an international perspective. That's one domain, right? Another domain is related to strategies, right? Or competences like learning, cognitive, regulatory, resource, communication. Then we have the traditional language skills, listening, speaking, reading, writing, language knowledge of phonetics, vocabulary, grammar, functions, topics. All of that is what encompasses integrated language skills, really. But there is one important competence area that we're leaving out, okay, which is intercultural communication, cultural understanding, and cultural knowledge. We lack this component in our curriculum at the department. And that is why on day 2, I told you probably we need some social linguistics 400, as a follow-up for linguistics 300. And that course would be necessary. And then further, we could eventually even have like a language and culture 450 class also. That doesn't necessarily have to replace anything that we already have in the curriculum. But these considerations, we have to seriously think about them, because things have changed in the world. And now we don't speak anymore about ESL, EFL. Now we speak about EIL, English as an international language. And we need to help our students gain awareness that this cultural content should take them to become more like interculturally competent, not necessarily knowledgeable of one culture or two cultures, but they have to gain this awareness that there will be many different people speaking English, coming from different parts of the world, and that their cultures are important and are valid for the sake of communication. So out of this area of intercultural communication, cultural understanding, and knowledge, you see that there are three concentric rings that are, linked. You need to develop language skills that involve language awareness, learning ability, and quality of thought. That's criteria to decide, that you shouldn't go along any prejudice or stereotype. Okay. That we cannot back up any racist idea or notion. We need to go beyond or above all of these things that limit and separate people, and we should accept. We should be more, inclusive in terms of our ideas, accept and respect variety, and we shouldn't label one speaker as superior to another so easily. As I'm saying here, as long as a person is competent in a language, that English they speak is valid. Probably they have more experience, less experience, but probably they know things that we don't know, or we know things that they don't. And that requires openness, and that's cultural awareness and learning ability. The hallmark of a culturally competent person is listening and asking, right? Asking questions. So how do you do this? Or is this okay? Why not? Okay. Is this a way we should go about this? Or how would you like to do this? These are key questions that we need to ask all the time. Otherwise, we're going to be labeling and limiting and excluding, and feeling that our way is the only way and the right way. And who says you're right all the time? Okay, there is no way for you to know that. We cannot know. Remember, we say we speak English, but that's something to be judged by our listener. Your listener will decide if your English is understandable or not. And if you can establish communication, then you have something to offer. You are competent. Probably not as competent as someone who uses English more often, but that's good enough for communication and the sake of using a language. So the structure of core literacy in English that is culturally aware requires these elements. Learning ability, so that you understand that there are different ways of doing things, and we can learn the way they do things, okay? How they go about doing different things with language. That's the discursive practices. We need to have quality of thought. That's judgment criteria, to know that I don't necessarily know better than you, or you don't know better than me. It's just that there are different ways, okay? And I have to respect your way, please respect mine, or we can probably learn from each other and, see each other as equals. And cultural awareness that doesn't necessarily criticize or mock or disregard different ways of carrying ourselves. Human beings are very diverse and have very different qualities, experiences, and history, and there must be openness. So intercultural competence plays an important role in today's world, which is interconnected. We don't speak about a globalized world anymore. It's already globalized. There is nothing to globalize anymore unless you live in a very, very far away region of the world. So nowadays it's not globalized, remember, it's interconnected. It's already globalized, And regardless of the fact, as we were saying yesterday, that some people's minds are colonized because they keep this outdated notions of superiority, differences, segregation, racist ideas about superiority and all this, this is going to be, this must be defeated anyway. You know, there's sometimes in difficult times or periods like ours in which some of these ideas will come back, okay, through probably outdated, you know, not so educated people. We're having a problem with some leadership that is very ugly, very bad, not only in our country, but in many parts of the world. As it seems, the right wing, you know, capitalist, neoliberal wing in society, when they take over, they don't understand the changes that are taking place in the world. And you know what that causes? It causes that the left wing, socialists, probably communists, progressive, you know, wing will eventually rise to power because of these situations, these tensions created by the right. So regardless of the fact that we care or not about politics, politics is also a part of all of this, okay? It's a part of all of this. For instance, the fact that Jeffrey Sachs, I don't know if you're aware of Jeffrey Sachs's intervention. He said some things that Donald Trump didn't like. I was talking to you about that before. And those ideas have to do with the United States preparing for war because China has become successful, okay? An empire that is, you know, probably, you know, going through some problems could become dangerous because they may feel they have to dispute control over the world. So this is part of the tension also that we're going through right now. Okay, this is all about this, and people are in between. We're all in between all of this. So there is no way for us to know exactly how this is going to end, but I can tell you, I can assure you that the pendulum is shifting all the time from the right or extreme right. It's swinging to the left or the extreme left, depending on the situations we're going through. So this is also political, as I'm saying, because you cannot say that the United States is important for Panama and you don't care about people not speaking English or not learning English or not investing money in education. That is something that is going on right now with under Mr. Mulino's rule. He says it's important that Panamanians become employed and so forth, but he doesn't invest any money in education really. This is so, you know, confusing, and this is part of the problem because if you want Panamanians to be employed in tourism, they need to learn English and they need to become culturally aware also. It's very important for them to understand these topics so that they can obtain a job and keep that job. Because one thing is obtaining the job and another thing is keeping it. Because if you are ineffective at what you do, you will lose your job. Right? Okay, so in what direction is the world moving? So as you know, in my role as a coordinator for master programs at the English department, I've had to do some research into what is going on concerning the teaching of culture, right, in the world. It has become an important topic, and as proof of what I'm talking about, this is one of the new trends in masters or advanced degrees, graduate degrees that are being offered online and even face to face in hybrid mode through a hybrid methodology. The this master's degree exists. Probably it's not something that we would see very often, but these kinds of hybrid curriculum designs have become more and more common. This is a Master of Arts in Global English, Literary and Cultural Studies. Okay. And the reason why this has become important is because not everybody wants to go into education or teaching. Maybe they want to learn English because they want to become writers. They want to go into diplomacy, maybe. Or they're going into business. And all of this is very open. This is a very open area that would allow a person to move, not necessarily into education, but you may go into education with such a degree, but you could also go in different directions. In China, this is a master's program, and this one, for instance, mixes, integrates everything cultural, including literature, that should not be overlooked or should not be looked down on. No way. Literature is important, and there is a very good reason for having literature as part of the curriculum, because this is direct contact, or with reality, with the people's knowledge and vision of the world. So literature brings in the best of a culture, of a so-called foreign culture, so that you get the opportunity to be exposed. So cultural studies and their global cultural trends, because there is what we call nowadays a global citizenship that has been created. Just to think of an example, look at jeans. I mean, I'm talking about the clothing, the pair of jeans, pants. This cowboy jeans, this is something international and global. You go any part of the world, you go to Africa, you go any continent, and you'll see people wearing jeans. So this is part of that global citizenship. The same thing happens with smartphones. Wherever you go in the world, they're accepted. There isn't a country that will tell you that we don't like smartphones and we are not using any smartphones. So this has become another global citizenship type of element. And there's so many others we can think of that have been widely accepted. And this is shaping the newer generations that are being born at present. They're living in a world that is not globalizing, but it's interconnected, that is depending on other countries' stability, and ultimately will need to count on cooperation for it to keep on moving. Otherwise, the whole system's going to fall apart. So one example of this was the pandemic. During the pandemic, as you noticed, there had to be cooperation, and the big pharma, those pharmaceutical companies, they had to give out their vaccines, disregarding all of those patent limitations that their law offices imposed to avoid sharing their secretive research and development accomplishments. Those need to be shared with the world for the world to heal and for the capitalist system and the economy to move forward. Okay, so this is evidence that in a major event, in any major event, cooperation is going to be necessary for the world to keep going. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart. So these kinds of programs, such as this Master of Arts, are very important. Probably they're disregarded as something new, probably, or some novelty, but there is something very important behind them. Is that we're trying to understand this global citizenship and start, seeing each other, like each other, different nationalities, regions of the world, peoples, as having more in common than in, different. We have a lot more in common that we are different, and leadership is going to go away from people like the Republican Party current president, because his ideas are just outdated. Same as it's going on here with our current president. We're going to move away from that kind of leadership fast because people know that we're in danger right now. There is a great deal of danger because these ideas about not sharing, about imposing, that promote this hegemonic power over others, linguistic imperialism, and all of this. This is dangerous. This is not helping an interconnected world to proceed and move forward. It's very complicated, right? Very complicated for the world to continue under such a leadership. We need more communication, more understanding, a better regard for differences, more openness, respect, and all of this. So this is a university offering the program. It's a university based in Hong Kong. I got this from Facebook because I tried to get it through other means. It was not possible for me to do it. But it seems to be an accredited university. And well, for some people, they may think, well, what's the point of studying all that? Well, if for such a developed country like China to study culture seriously, this is an important path or direction for academic studies to move, So I must tell you that probably I don't think we'll see anything like this in Panama anytime soon, because I think there is no openness towards this. But part of my personal exploration took me in this direction. I don't know. Will it be possible for the University of Panama to offer something like this? Maybe we could, but we first need to convince university leadership that these things are possible and that we could have some cooperation going with the Chinese, and maybe India or any of these other countries, not necessarily only with the United States, and native speakers of those close groups. We could have cooperation with other countries that have an important pool of native speakers. And as I was saying, as it seems, most of the graduate studies are going to be offered in hybrid mode, and this is a trend. This is a trend. So what normally occurs is that you have a classroom with a cohort, and in the courses offered face to face are simultaneously offered online, and you reach out to 200 additional students, and this makes programs extremely profitable because you could have a cohort sitting, and you could have cameras going, like recording the sessions and presenting the materials through digital means. And then instead of having a cohort of only 20 participants, you could have 220 or 320. Our university, they haven't thought about any of this really. And fourth, a developing country like ours, thinking about these things should be a serious matter. Probably some people resist to the idea of using any of these means for instruction. Personally, I must say that we need to overcome that resistance towards the use of technology, because the world is moving in this direction and there is nothing we can do about it anymore. Okay, there is no going back to what we had before. Even this seminar is already outdated. Okay, why do I say this? I'm telling you this because, for instance, I'm going to take a seminar. I'm not going to say, well, it's in the university. I'm not going to say what seminar that is, but everything is stored in the University of Panama platform, Educativa. And it's asynchronous. So people may access that information without having to sit through hours and hours of talking or listening to a facilitator or a presenter. And many of those presentations do not necessarily have to be, face to face, like for like keeping track of people's attendance and these kinds of things. The platform Educativa holds metrics of your presence online through your clicks in the platform as you develop the different workshops and activities that you do. So we need to start rethinking also about the way these seminars are facilitated. That doesn't mean that you're going to have an organizer and a presenter and such a thing. That's a role of it. But you could develop a curriculum, and you don't always have to bring in some facilitator that is unprepared or who doesn't have very good English, because that's a problem too. I'm not saying this because I want to criticize anybody, but this is the direction we should go into. Integrate more technology in favor of doing the pedagogical, andragogical processes more germane and more sound. For instance, in this seminar, I noticed that there were around 25 people in my list, and we've had an attendance of around 30 at the best. So what does that mean? The implication is that we had 15 participants who decided not to attend. And why did that occur? Well, to my understanding, in my logic, the reason has to do with probably trying to take advantage of their time during recess before the semester begins. Many people decide to travel, etc. But if the course is stored in a system like a platform, then the person may access that in the evening, not necessarily have to sit through 4 hours. And that could be probably very tiring. I don't know, maybe stressful. Who knows? Who knows? Everyone has a very particular situation. So this is something, for instance, for master's programs, I think there must not be only face-to-face contact. There must be also face-to-face and online. So hybridization should be the norm, right? So, okay. I'm going to refer quickly here about what the paradigm is for this graduate program, because this also relates to culture. The way the Chinese relate to English culture is very interesting, and we need to, it's worth the effort of read through what they are doing. They follow along what we were talking about before, the world English's paradigm. So we have the Department of English of the Hang Seng University of Hong Kong. That was this is extracted directly from their website or their Facebook, and that's why you have some of it like in Spanish. So I apologize. So I didn't translate the whole thing. So Master of Arts in Global English Literary and Cultural Studies is an English degree that breaks free from the constraints of period and geography. studying English in a global context as a global language. So you see, we're talking, they are talking in Hong Kong about breaking free from time frames and geography. You see, this is something that we have to overcome, not because I say so. It's because this is the way the world is moving forward this way. Okay. And studying English as a global language, not as an American language only. Okay. We could be familiar with the American way because of our geographical location, but we should, learn this intercultural competence and openness to value other forms of English, which are also possible. GLCS program teaches you to read across cultures so you can speak to the world. Program director, Dr. Jay Parker. So you see, they brought in probably a native speaker, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the program is going to be American. You could have speakers or professors or faculty from different nationalities here. So he thinks that really to speak to people involves much more than saying a few words. It means to make a connection, okay? So it's not only the language, it's the connection to touch people's passions and concerns. Okay, that is more like, connecting at a deeper level, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, you see? When we teach you to speak global, we're helping you to understand the literature and culture that moves us, that has demonstrably changed the world and continues to do so today. So there is an understanding that these elements, cultural elements, such as the literature and the culture, that those are the real engines that propel, right, progress and change, and that things will not remain always the same. What is normal and what is expected is change. Change is the only assured constant in all of this. This is something that will always occur, and we have to be adaptable and resilient for the sake of progress. So that was back in 22, okay, according to the information. Probably they have not reopened the program, not yet, because people are still completing. And as you know, master's program will generally take what, like 2 years. So maybe they are reopening or they're organizing themselves to offer it, again. So if you have the chance, take a look once more. Hans Sheng, University of Hong Kong, Master of Arts in Global English Literary and Cultural Studies. Okay, it's a different way of looking at things. Now, I'm going to be making a very brief pause here to listen to your impressions regarding this topic. If there is anything you'd like to ask or comment, please do so, and go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, if a master in global English literacy and cultural studies would prepare you for teaching in your own country, I mean, if it would include every of the details that we have in our own country.
Well, the way I see this program is more aimed at people who don't want to necessarily go only into education, because there has been an unnecessary constraint for many graduate programs and degrees. And people, you know, human beings are entitled to the freedom to decide if they want to go into other areas, right? This is a very open
I guess that would be just for
program.
professors who want to learn the language to be able to, I mean, to use it professionally. That's what I think.
And you know, we tend to overlook this topic, but remember, whenever a university grants you a diploma, the diploma states that you are not only a speaker of that language. Like in our case, we're degree holders that states that we have a program in the humanities with a concentration or major in English. So whatever you go in the job market, you're going to be regarded as a language expert. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that you could take different roles. You don't necessarily have to be only an instructor. You could be other things that are connected to instructing people in a language. Maybe you could be, who knows, maybe an editor, maybe a literary agent, maybe you could be an author, maybe you could be advisors. So there are different roles you can assume, and you could become an interpreter and do different things as long as you fulfill requirements for a profile in the company structure. So there's so many different other things you can do, and that ultimately also depends on your experience and if you have a larger background beyond the humanities, because supposedly we should be always studying, you know, and you know, learning from other fields, and this could enable us to join the market, the labor market, you know, in different roles. So there are many different things we can do with a degree in English, and I think our students know about this, and that's why many of them are moving into other roles in companies and some other joint ventures, probably as entrepreneurs and so forth. Many right now probably also considering being distant employed by a company, and they work, you know, remotely. All of this is happening, and there must be openness to these changes in the job market. Also consider that because of AI, little by little we're moving in the direction of not being constrained by many factors that are present, you know, are limiting people, like age, gender, maybe appearance, health condition, distance, or geography. All of that is being little by little becoming, it's going to be overcome by technology. It brings some advantages, but also challenges. So this is an interesting view on this topic. Okay. So what is cultural competence? Okay, we need to talk about cultural competence also. Okay. Cultural competence is a, you know, this ability to interact with what we call foreigners. But foreigners are not foreigners really. What they are, they're more international than anything, especially for us Panamanians. And why is this so? Because Panama is a smaller country. So we have a limited number of people who have a shared history and values. Okay. We Panamanians were 4 million. If we look at other countries around us, there are 20, 50, 100 million people. Okay. And that makes their vision of the world larger than ours, at least by the numbers. Okay. So do we need to become competent? Yes, we should become competent because we are a smaller population. Where will you find Panamanians? Probably only in Panama. Very few you will identify elsewhere. And we don't have millions of people living abroad. We don't have that. And I don't think we're going to have that ever. Okay. And they're natural and social reasons for this, that Panamanians remain in the smaller numbers. Sometimes this is a way for the country to play safe. Who knows? I wish someone would come up with a hypothesis why Panama has remained a country of a smaller population for such a long time. I think it has to do with the existence of the former canal zone and having an enclave in between, and people not being not having the territory necessary for all that development that has been claimed to be necessary. So it's important to be competent, okay, in terms of culture. But now we don't speak about cultural competence only, right? We speak more about intercultural competence, because cross-cultural communication as a term implies that if we're communicating in English, our listeners or interlocutors will not be only from one nationality. We could have an international audience, okay? A very international audience from the 5 continents. When we speak Spanish, our audience is Latin America mainly, and parts of the United States, Europe, in Spain, maybe a few countries in Africa, but not beyond that. Okay, not beyond that, because it's not such widely spoken language all over the globe. It's not a global language, but English is. And as Professor De Leon said, it's true that when you publish, you speak English or you relate to people who are English speakers, chances are your interaction is going to be global. So what you say in English at present, is more relevant than what you say in Spanish. This is true. I've seen a couple of books in which, for instance, a Puerto Rican author, he recommended publishing in English, even though you're a Spanish-speaking person. You should publish, or should always aim to publish in English, at least at present, because of exposure, because you want to benefit as a writer. You want your metrics to go up, and you need a larger readership. So it's worth the effort of writing in English, not only in Spanish. Not that you shouldn't be taking over, or keeping your space in your market, which is Spanish speaking, but we should also attempt to write in English so as to be part of a larger conversation, because it's a larger conversation that's going on in English. Right? Not everything that they say in English is relevant here, but we could find points in common, and those are the things that we have to exploit. Writing, for example, about the Panamanian context for an English-speaking audience, that's irrelevant, really, because nobody really cares much about small country that many people don't know where it is. So what could be probably relevant is to write about them, to them, from our perspective. You see, that would really probably catch people's attention, because what they care is what you say about them, really. So this intercultural interaction is very good, because this is a very good subject, or source of information for very good articles, for very good journal articles mainly. So not going in our direction, like looking inward, but we should be looking at them, looking outward, and writing about them, so that they know our vision about what's going on in the world. Either they like it or not, this criticism is also necessary, I think, for the sake of keeping an even field, because we cannot be reading other people and not having them read our version, right? So this is the way cultural competence will go. Okay. Now I'm going to refer here. I'd like you to take a look at this slide, because it's a very good one. because this explains some of the terms, some of the terminology I've been using in this conference, especially in today's session. Okay. There is a continuum or a dynamic relationship among cultural topics, right? We start with social cultural competence, right? And that's outdated, or the original paradigm in which we consider other kinds of people, you know, and their particular ways of communicating their culture. Some of them are in our country, some others are outside. Some of these groups are not necessarily only geographically inside your country, but also outside. Okay. Then we progressed to cross-cultural competence when English, you know, became a global language, which happened, who knows, during the latter part of the 20th century, probably. And then with the globalization as a phenomenon and economic integration and interconnectedness in the world, then we move forward into cross-cultural competence, in which we know that there will be many different cultures that speak one common language, and that it's important to communicate with them and understand that they have different ways of communicating. Then from that, we're progressing into intercultural competence, which is the competence to deal with whoever comes and understand that they have different ways, different traditions, different history, and that all that is, you know, welcome. None of that should be rejected. We have to respect each other. As long as there is respect, they're welcome, and that there are difference, you know, there are differences among them, and we are different too. For them, we're different too. Okay, all this is necessary to become a competent person who can communicate across different cultures. Just to bring a case here, that's I'm going to make a parenthesis here. You know that in translation, people say, because the reason why I bring in translation is because this is a program at the department, a master's program. In translation, you know that Saint James is the patron saint of translators in the Catholic Church. Saint James. No, Saint Jerome, actually. It's not James. Saint Jerome. Okay. That's in Spanish, Jerónimo, right? Saint Jerome. He's the patron of translators. Okay. His work was translating the Bible, right? From its different versions into Latin, which was the lingua franca, and even impacting the vernaculars. I think he was doing all of this work, and this helped expand Christian culture, Christian identity across Europe. Okay, so you see, this work of spreading information and connecting people is very important. This shapes identity in the future and integrates people. Okay, so being intercultural is important. It has always been important. This is the way progress reaches out to population. There is no point in making breakthroughs in science or in any area without sharing that information, because then what that does is the world will not go very far, really. And progress really comes from spreading ideas, communicating them, facilitating knowledge. So I think early Christians, they were culturally competent. According to the Bible, that's what I've gotten. Paul, he was bilingual, probably a person who had a shared heritage, and this allowed him to go on from Israel, former, Israel back in the day before Romans burned it, to go into Europe and spread these ideas about Christianity among the Romans and the Gentiles, so to speak, Gentiles. So this spreading of words, spreading of culture has always been. And the in-betweeners, people who have a shared heritage, they change the world because they can offer, a different perspective. And this is a calling and a mission too. So this is very Western culture relevant, that people become culturally competent, because this is the way you spread ideas and you spread values and beliefs. Okay, this is influence. This is influence. Sometimes I think there is one very powerful reason why it's going to get complicated, for example, China to gain and become a rise to power globally. And the reason is language. Language. Language and their culture. Their culture is a very not very flexible, and their language is kind of difficult or distant for so many parts of the world. So they could have relationships with countries, but not necessarily become an important country in terms, like as it is right now with the US, probably not at that level, because it's not a very global country. There are many things going over there that we don't know about, and learning about them is very difficult. So probably they are not very competent, and they have also used English as their lingua franca. So these ideas about cultural awareness, which are the basic ones, are self-awareness, ethnocentricity, cultural identity, ethnohistory, and stereotyping. So this is the outdated notion of different cultures. You have stereotypes about some groups that, for example, Hispanic people have different names. For example, you'd say that Arabic people there, they pray all day. Some of these ideas, ethnohistory, that we have our history, we have our ethnic identity. We're all the same color, we're all the same kind, and we're aware of ourselves. Then eventually we move to acquiring cultural knowledge, right? Beliefs and behaviors, more ideas about the way society is organized, more ideas about how people mix and interrelate, that there are similarities and differences, and there are different kinds of situations. Then there is cultural sensitivity. Then you see the other groups as not that different, that we have more things in common, right? That we know that we have to be empathic, we have to trust them, we have to accept and respect their differences. We have to see that there are barriers to sensitivity. We need to turn those down. It should be turned down, I mean. And we need to be more accepting also, okay? Eventually, we will become competent, in which we'll have diagnostic and assessment, and we'll be able to overcome prejudice and disregard or rule out completely discrimination and any form of inequality, because it's unfair and it's not human. Because the only thing we know about humans is that we're so diverse, biologically, culturally, and in any regard. We're very, very different, right? Okay, I'd like to stop here for a second and ask you if you have any impressions you'd like to share concerning this progress from sociocultural competence that you see on the left all the way down to an intercultural competence.
Just a cultural note about the Bible translation. The priest Saint Jerome translated the Bible into Latin, but then later on in history, there was a British priest whose last name was Tyndale, who objected to the fact that the Bible could only be read in Latin. So he asked for permission to translate the Bible from Greek and Hebrew into English. So he translated the Bible into English in 14-something in history. So the fact that we have the Bible translated into English, we have to attribute that to Tyndale, and the one that was translated into Latin to Saint Jerome. Thank you.
Yeah, valid observation. Very good. Concerning cultural awareness, is there anybody who has some input? Did you ever consider any of this? That we're moving, for example, from one paradigm to another?
Actually, in Panama, there has to be this cultural awareness because we receive people from many parts of the world. And most of them, when they come, they speak English. So especially the ones that are in the touristic industry and business, we have to have this cultural awareness.
Yes, so true. Compared to the rest of Latin America, probably we have been exposed, but they have also in other parts of Latin America been exposed to this. So yes, we do have that important component. So intercultural competence is a lot more open, okay, and it's a lot more ambitious also. Beyond a basic cultural paradigm, now we are moving into, cultural diversity and being, very open. We should be more open in this regard. Now, this topic takes me to the last topic for the seminar, right? Our last topic for the seminar is how will this relate? How will all this that we've been talking about regarding cultural openness and valuing diversity, how could this directly impact us? Okay, there's a lot to say in this regard because I think I was telling you probably in day 2 or maybe day 3 that the university will need these international ties in order for the university to survive in the long run or to have a sustainable project, because it is possible that funding is going to become a problem. These programs like ours, they have to gain sustainability, and how could we, assist in this process? So we need to understand that we are at the top of the pyramid also. Again, it's like the iceberg. We're at the top. What we can offer right now is tolerance, okay? That's what we do. That's what we do at present. We tolerate things. We kind of tolerate differences to some extent, right? Because we are at the very early stages of developing competences that are mainly aimed at language skill development and cultural knowledge. Now, it would be ideal if the whole university spoke English, but that's not the case. That's not the case. The university hasn't even considered having very seriously considered having international programs that are bilingual in English and Spanish. There isn't such a thing, and I think there will be a resistance to this because of concerns over language competence. Right? At present, English is just mainly a requirement. You want to attend a graduate program, you take a test, an English test, and then you fulfill the requirement. But where is that requirement going, really? What do you need that for? Just to read documents? No, it should be for you to have access to information in English, and that you would know that you have to overcome that language barrier, at least for the sake of becoming, bilingual, and become, a little bit better as a professional who's certified. So we're going in that direction. We're moving in that direction. Some people see it as a way for the university to generate income only, but there is a lot behind all of this. It's because the university needs to become international for accreditation. They don't talk to you about accreditation and what else accreditation brings behind it, because they don't want to scare anybody. They don't want to scare the students away. But as I was telling you before, if you check what CONEAUPA has been established as the board that makes decisions in this regard, many universities are a little bit scared, really. I don't think the University of Panama is scared or kind of reluctant of what is coming, but accreditation agencies of a higher quality require universities to have or sponsor bilingual programs. This is a requirement, okay? And accreditation in the South, right? Latin America, South America, is already embarked in this. I think if you take a look at some documents about what Mercosur aspires to be, you'll discover that they have some ideas about education also. And Mercosur has been designed or created or modeled after the European Union. And the European Union is multilingual. So for these ties to work and cooperation networks to be effective, there must be at least, 3, 4, and as many European languages as possible for all of this cooperation to really take root and progress. So we cannot look away from this reality, and we have to understand that little by little we'll be moving in that direction. How will this occur? I think there will be negotiations, okay? There will be negotiations, just like everything. And but people need to be prepared that there will be common requirements for someone who's hoping to teach in a university. And those will include, as you should know already, a higher degree, probably a PhD, who knows, something at that level, or maybe also a second or third or second language requirement, some certification from teachers, same as some other requirements that could probably be in place for accreditation to become international and of a higher standard. Okay, so the importance of international experiences is going to be important also for progress in this direction. As you know, they are trying to enforce more productivity from faculty, same as from students. You see that everything is going in that direction. And the analysis is that in Europe, for instance, professors are expected to publish at least some book every 2 to 3 years. Of course, this is not going to happen in our context immediately, but we should know that little by little, things are moving in that direction. So more cooperation is going to be necessary among professionals for many of these things to occur and to be able to, fulfill some of these requirements imposed by the situation, because I don't really see it as something being imposed by the university. But the problem is that the university needs to progress, needs to move forward, and there is no way you can go away from a process that already began. Accreditation is happening every, I think, 2-3 years, and there will come a moment in which those standards are going to be improved or increased, or requirements will have to be increased for us to have access to other types of accreditation which are more beneficial. I've seen some documents already coming from the European Union for partnerships, and there's money involved in those, take different forms, probably loans, this sort of thing. But those are joint efforts that require a higher level of preparation from faculty, other types of initiatives, and a lot more of research production. So there must be some more productivity. Also, there must be some more curiosity. Professor Palacios should attest also, must attest to the fact that it's required for people to travel, be involved in mobility schemes, and all of this is part of the university growth. And this is not growth just, you don't want the university to become a school. You want it to become a larger university with international projection. So for the benefit of growth, this is the process. And then you see at the lower end of this, at the base of this pyramid, because it's more a pyramid than anything, you see resilience, because this is a challenging process that requires the development of competences, and then the occurrence or the incidence of international experiences that should become more and more common for the university to become this ideal international organization connected to international networks. So as the rest of the neighborhood, so to speak, in Latin America becomes, grows, will be forced to grow too, in order to keep up, keep pace with what is going on beyond our borders. So I'd like to know if you have any impressions concerning university internationalization and its relation with culture or cultural competence or intercultural competence.
Well, when we talk about intercultural competence, we have to realize that there has to be a way of communication. And right now, where lingua franca is English, maybe because of the grammar, I think that the grammar is the easiest one to learn, I think. That's what I think. You might not agree, but also the fact that, I mean, internationally, it's the dominating language. That's what it is. It is the dominating language. And if you want to communicate with other cultures, you have to learn the language for communication. We have to realize that. And also that the teaching of the English language by law established at all educational institutions institutions in Panama since 2003. I mean, it's forcing us to teach the language from the very first levels up to university. So I think that we are moving more into the learning of the English language for communication around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other impressions or ideas concerning university internationalization and the role of cultural or intercultural competence in this process? Okay. No, well, I'd like to inform you that I already posted in Classroom day 4 and day 5 reflections. Those are already there. Day 5 reflections are concerning some of these topics we're talking, and it's just mainly it's questions that you have to answer to the best of your understanding. So your impressions right now matter very much and help clarify and make sure if things are clear or not, because when you go there in classroom and face that, probably you will discover some of those are maybe not very clear, or maybe you have a different opinion, and it will be worth discussing those different ideas. Remember that you're paying for this seminar to, for you to take away some product, and the product should be some understanding and knowledge about these topics. So we all, help each other very much when we comment and we provide our input or reflections or insights about some topics, right? So we're talking about all of this because I think the university is going to go is going in this direction. This is a university project. They don't openly say it, but the university will have to go along the lines of bilingual programs and doing those in English, because even if they cooperate with China through a Confucius Institute or whatever, training is going to go, in English anyway. So if they do it with Turkey, or I've seen that they have also approached some other countries in Europe, everything is going to take place in English anyway, as long as it's not in Latin America or beyond Spain. Everything is going to happen in English anyway. So they don't openly say it, but this is the way things are working in Latin America, regardless of the fact that we have some tensions with the United States. Anyway, things are going to happen in English in most of the cases. I've seen so many speakers coming, so international speakers coming to Panama to deliver conferences at the university, and everything occurs in English. Norwegians, Swedish, Italians, so many different kinds, even from China, from Poland, and they all have to speak English or speak English when they come over, unless they know some Spanish, of course, which is our local language. So for some people, this is not very good, because many of them feel like English is the language of the empire. They see it that way, but we have to overcome that way of thinking and think about English more of a resource we should benefit from. It should be part of a strategy, not some burden imposed. We have to get over a Yankee go home mindset, because this is what the real problem tends to be, especially with this generation that went through all of this process of
Professor,
liberating, the country. Sure.
Elda is raising her hand.
Go ahead. Sorry, I can't see you because I have the presentation open. So please go ahead. Sure, by all means.
Professor, this is Anelda, and I think that whatever you're telling us is true. Because right now, for example, we have to take out that chip that, English is not good and we are not learning English. And I think that something that should be really important is we have to do something like students should know that even though they doesn't like, some of them doesn't like English, they have to do it, or they have to find a way they can speak English. Because if you're trying to look for a job right now, even a very, very basic job, they are requiring, anyone to speak English. And that's something that they should be paying attention to. It's not because you don't want to learn the language, it's because it has been becoming something that is very important for you to learn in order for you to grow up professionally.
Interesting insight. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else?
Well, Professor Rafa, since you mentioned the coordination that I leader so far in Facultad de Humanidades, that tries to make internationalization. Let me share with the audience that we were working and we had a great plan, and we have the financial support for a budget that we as everybody together made with these seminars that we pay for the seminar. Well, there was a percentage for internationalization. All the language centers seminars always gave a percentage for the internationalization of the teachers and students in the College of Humanities. But let me tell you that now, with the administration of Mulino, since he arrived to the power, he identified that we had a financial problem. According to his information, this is public, and Universidad de Panama had a cutoff. First of all, the internationalization financial support that we had. All the saving, we had to finance at least a percentage, because we didn't give it all, because it's impossible. By law, we have to give only the 50% for the internationalization of teachers as well as students. So what was the 50%? Well, the dean had and the president of Universidad de Panama supported with the flight ticket to begin with. But let me share, Professor Cárdenas, we were starting, and now that was cut off since I think last year August or September. So we have around a year that everything we send to the presidency or to Contraloría de la República de Panama is denied. I just can't believe that strong efforts, the connection we have with other universities, the scholarships that pay the other 50% of the students and teachers that were going to travel abroad, everything is over so far, no more. And they send a lot of restrictions. And well, this is something I want to share. If we want to work again, we will have to pay for everything as it used to be before Professor Dr. Olmedo Garcia's administration. Before Dr. Olmedo Garcia's administration, everybody had to pay for whatever they wanted to do internationally speaking. It's so sad, but it's something that is happening right now, and it's not only Universidad de Panamá. All the official universities that have to ask the last signature for authorization in the Contraloría de la República de Panamá and in the presidency of the Republic of Panama, well, they denied, and they sent they repeat sending the information that they said the first day they sat down in those chairs. And I don't know if it's truth or it is not, but we had the found in Universidad de Panama, we have the saving account, we have the money, but we cannot use it anymore for, they call it luxury. Could you imagine, Professor Cardenas, luxury? So I don't know what we're going to do with the reaccreditation that is coming, because we were making good numbers of, because it's not just sending one teacher and one student, we have to send an amount, and we have to receive an amount of international students to get the accreditation in that area. Well, something to share, and we will create another way. Definitely, we will have to create another way, but so far, no more support from the government of the Republic of Panama, and we all have to go to the presidency, teachers, I mean teacher and administrative personnel, because we have to accept the fact that we are government employees. That's it. And because we get paid by the Contraloría de República de Panama. And students go only to Contraloría de la República de Panama because they are kids of the country. But at the end, let me tell you, no permission to go either during semester time for teachers or for administrative. They are denying even the authorization to move from our job. They said we have to work, we have to teach, we have to do whatever they pay us for, and we cannot go during semester. So be careful about that, because some of the academics have some issues right now because they travel during semester time. No excuse. So be careful about that too. So this is my this is all I want to say related to the internationalization. I don't know what is the agenda of the governments. They cut it off, and that was important for reaccreditation. I don't know what to do, but we will figure it out. I promise we will. We're smart enough, but so far, don't blame myself. Don't blame Dr. Olmedo Garcia. Don't blame the President Flores. They are approving as usual because we have the budget, but the deny come from the Presidency of the Republic of Panama and from the Contraloría de la República de Panama. We cannot touch any money of our own. Never, ever in the life. So it's something very funny when they say we're stealing money from the government. It's impossible. Everything is under Banco Nacional de Panama. So we just handle papers. So far, so good. This is the latest news about internationalization and the support of the institution.
Thank you very much for that insight and important piece of information. Now, I'd like to invite you to my conference that I'm going to be offering at the National Congress in October. I'm going to make sure I let people know when they're going to grant me the space for that conference, because my conference is about strategies, using English as a strategy. So I have some ideas I'm proposing for us to bypass this misstep that the Panamanian population made when they elected this Molino politician, because he wasn't, you know, a candidate, but people voted for him anyway. So you shouldn't be voting neoliberal anymore. That's what we shouldn't be doing, because we're gonna get in the same situation again. It's a trap. We have to vote for
Professor,
kind of candidate. Yes.
Professor, I think not many people are going to be complaining. See, most of, I mean, at least the 34% of the Panamanian population should be complaining about what's going on, because they were the one who have that person over there in the place he is right now.
No, but you know, we have to learn.
And I'm very sad. I'm very sad about it, because whatever scene Professor Yurik explain, Palacios explained, I know that there are so many things that are going on. It's just not only at the University of Panama, but there are so many things going on in another institution. So we are just at the Panama University, just part of what is going on in the whole country.
So right. But remember, we have to, you know, keep our chins up,
So,
because this is just a period, and he's gonna be over. Who knows? Maybe earlier than necessary. Who knows?
yeah, I think, can you hear me?
Sure, just
Yes.
fine. Go ahead. Mhm.
Many of the laws that have been taken in Panama during different periods have been taken out of sheer ignorance, like when the English was taken out of the curriculum during the last century, during the dictatorship. And now, I mean, they take these kind of decisions not knowing what it means, really. I mean, they don't know what is behind their decision.
Mhm.
The fact that we send people abroad and send them to learn and to understand about other cultures puts Panama in the map, and that's what they don't.
That's true. That's true.
And I guess they will come to realize it, or when another government comes, they will come back and understand that they have to finance what we need to progress. It's like when the law was taken back in 2003 and make it the teaching of the English official in every single institution. So, I mean, if this government doesn't wake up, I mean, the next will, I think. That's what I think.
For sure, Professor, because nothing is going to last forever.
Yeah, this is it. They will just be kicked out of office, you know, without a doubt. This party, ruling party, they're not coming back. I think that's the way I see it, and I hope people will not vote for any candidate they present, because look, what they have done is really hurt the economy and taking us back in time. That's what they're doing, and there will be, of course, a huge delay when a new president comes. So let's hope we have a people, Panamanian people, who make good decisions, because that's the situation.
Yes.
Okay. Mhm. Yeah, somebody else wanted to say something. Go ahead, please.
Professor Cardinal, would you allow me a few more words that maybe it will be nice to share according to the topic we developed today?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Let me share something. We had a couple of students we sent during the first administration of Dr. Olmedo Garcia, and now so far they are arriving. Professor Cardinal and Professor Gloria Dejo is not gonna let me lie. This is something that amazed me. I sent students to Canada from the English department, and two of them, I mean, the ambassador called me and they say they had a great accent. That how did we do that? I mean, many other countries, universities, send me emails that they got to know them, and especially from Hindi. And they said we had something, we were doing something really good, because we had a student in Sardas University in Hindi, and they were amazed of the very well understood accent that student had. and the embassy of Panama in Hindi sent me so many good compliments toward the student and I mean we're doing a great job. And we're not native speakers at all, but they had an international English accent, very well understood that they couldn't. They were asking me, "It's not American, it's not British. I mean, what is in the curriculum? What are you developing?" Well, I said it's an international amount of professors and so far. Let me tell you that some of them were asked to work and to go back to work and so on. So we're doing a great job. And those compliments were emailed to the president of Universidad de Panama, Dr. Flores. And there I was, reading those emails. I wonder why those emails didn't come down to the English department, but everything is kept in the presidency. And I don't know why they don't say it aloud in the meetings, in the board meetings. They never said that to aloud to the whole community of Universidad de Panama. I think they are trying to light off the whatever we do in the College of Humanities, because they never said that in public. But I received the emails. They didn't let me publish the emails at all. And let me tell you, we're doing a great job. Students are getting good compliments and even scholarships. Oh, by the way, we sent students to China, and they were not from the English school as the other ones I mentioned. One of them were from the English school, but the other one was from a physical education, BA physical education. The other one was from philosophy, sociology, and tourism. So they had other kind of they had ESP English course. Of course, they were not having that major. Let me tell you, they did so well because the bridge language was English language, and they adjusted. Maybe they had a month to adjust, and they developed it so good. And they had a scholarship to keep studying their masters, and that was an English program, as Professor Cardenas is sharing. In China, they have English programs. Of course, they have Mandarin programs. They have careers that they teach in Mandarin and others in English language. So our students, I don't know who said that we are bad teachers, but the students that we send abroad, that they have a high score, they are sigmas, of course, because the students come and they study, then they are sigma. So maybe students that don't study are the ones who say we're bad teachers. Something to make a research about it, but I wanted to share that too. Congratulations, my colleagues, because you're doing a great job. Because if the student, if you are the teachers, we are the teachers, we're not native speakers, and our students are being sent internationally and they got compliments, and this because we have been doing something really good with very few maybe very few support from institutions and so on. So congratulations everyone. We have to say the truth, and it's so sad that they don't publish that. That's something that really makes me think about it. What is the purpose here? To mention everything that is wrong, and the good activities that we're doing, and whatever we have acquired internationally, they never said so. That's
Yeah,
it.
so true. Well, we need a bulletin. We need a bulletin at the department. That's what we need, what we need is a bulletin. Uh, we're all behind so many things, but as it seems, there's going to be a lot more work uh, coming for us. Well, we'll always have work. We are doomed with work because we're in English. So a bulletin in order to spread the word about the positive work we do is necessary, especially to keep all those who don't think so in line. Generally, the people who speak ill, with ill will about the work we do are the ones who don't know. They just don't know, and that's why they decide to do so. And it's not fair. It's not a fair thing that we need to live through all of this injustice, because just like she was saying, we do lots of work, out of our own resources. Lots of the accomplishments are without any funding. without any cooperation. And now you see the government's attitude. This government's going to be over just like any other government's going to be over. But this is probably going to end earlier, who knows, because of their behavior. And what I can tell you is that, there are other things we can do. As I was telling you, I'm going to be delivering a conference on this topic on using English as a strategy in October at the National Congress. I dare to speak to an audience about this topic because probably right now the university is willing to listen. And since an election is coming up, maybe maybe one of those candidates could probably pay attention to some proposals that are different, because not that they don't know, they know about the problems and they live through those problems, but they don't know what to do, I think, or they don't dare to go ahead and make a decision, or they don't know which way to go. So, for instance, the English department has been offering English programs in English for how long? Over 50 years at a minimum. And the rest of the university hasn't really worried much about doing any of this or taking advantage or asking us about how we go about doing any of this. And this is not good. The university needs to enforce a different language policy, and this is necessary. And at some point, they will realize that change is for the better, not necessarily for limiting people or affecting anybody. Okay, we need more proposals, and we need that in order to survive now, because what you're describing is a serious problem. Very good. So we are at the stage of developing competences, as you see. We're at the stage of developing language skills and cultural knowledge, so that we will move into the development of international experiences. Okay, and those, of course, will take us to resilience, and a university that is connected with the world is very difficult to affect, really, because it's strong, has a strong back support. And I think the university could be affected somewhat, but that's going to be for a limited term. There are other things we can do, right? There are things to do. Very good. Okay. This is this is the last thing I'm going to be talking concerning accreditation. So, as you see here, the university is going to establish an internationalization strategic plan, but there are some pillars, right, that support such a plan, which are global talents, research, and partnerships. We have all of that. Okay? We have all of that, and we can do more. English has to become a transversal topic. That's what supports those pillars, and the indicators are, of course, the guide or the guidance necessary for establishing a good plan for a university. So, where are we at in this continuum? We have different stages. We have a pre-internationalization, compositional internationalization, community internationalization, and a competency internationalization. Right now, we're in the pre-stages with a low diversity university population. Most of our students are Panamanians, right, at present. But sooner or later, either online or face-to-face, listen to this, either online or face-to-face, we'll move into compositional internationalization with a more diverse university population. Okay, and a university such as ours will eventually attract other kinds of students. At present, we see many of those who migrated to Panama already taking classes at the university. We could have, I don't know if there is a study, but if we look into this, there could be hundreds of those. Maybe most of these nationalities are Latin American who have moved to Panama, and they are in our classes. They pass as Panamanians, and probably that's why they've been largely overlooked. But I'm sure that at the VI, they should have some information on this topic. How many Colombians and Venezuelans and Nicaraguans and Central Americans, mainly Costa Ricans, are there at the University of Panama? There could be counted probably in the hundreds. And this trend is going to continue because we're getting other nationalities also coming over, either through mobility or through the government or the country progression towards the development of projects. This what generally does is attract populations into our country, populations from other countries. So we could have this influx of people. So this is will require, either we believe it or not, some intercultural interaction, which is, of course, is going to be limited, but there's going to be more integration and more projection about the University of Panama. Many people think, well, the university is not very well known internationally. Guess what? I have learned this is not the case. The university is old enough to be known internationally. Some people, they know the University of Panama. Probably they know Panama and they know the canal, and then they know about the university. Okay, because this university is almost 90 years old, or if it's, I think this year's going to become 90 years old. So it's been out there for a long time. And since so many graduates have been flowing from different parts of the world into the university back and forth, the university is a well-known institution internationally. And eventually, this university will have to move into community internationalization, right? In which a diverse university community will probably bring students here, and will have to take hours over there. This is happening, of course, very slowly, but the world has changed. And in this century, I think we're going to see an aggressive move in this direction because of technology. All of these technologies of communication are going to support very much this process. In the long run, the idea is to achieve competency, you see, and that requires a university that's interculturally competent. Not only the professors, the faculties, the staff, and the students. It's going to be normal to have people from different parts of the world studying at this university. Many people think, oh, well, this is not happening. Well, it didn't happen in the 20th century because there wasn't the kind of technology we have now. So things are changing, and changing faster than we think. In many ways, AI and the existence of this advanced technologies is going to boost all of these changes that we're talking about. And will this be good? I definitely think there's good and bad in everything, but we cannot stop progress. You see, denying mobility to University of Panama students, physical mobility, that's going to hurt the university if the university does not propose other means of achieving connection. So ultimately, whatever president's decision is, that's going to impact in a limited way, any proposal, policy, or idea. The university will ultimately decide what it needs to do, right? And it will be so. Very good. So I'm gonna very quickly recap what we've been talking here concerning today's presentation. Okay. So my key takeaways for today are that we have to move from a paradigm of assimilation and acculturation. We need to respect people's identities and understand that multilingualism is valuable, that you don't have to be monolingual or monocultural. This understanding of diversity has an important role, especially in an interconnected world that is beyond globalization. These visions it's like they're on a regressive count. It's a problem for them and for the world. They need to overcome some of these outdated ideas. Now we're moving from this idea of the inner, outer, and expanding circles of the English language towards a much more, leveled way of understanding English. It's a world English's framework that we have at present, and this is a key takeaway because, as you know, all standards, we have so many different standard forms of the language, which are post-colonial. So this occurred after they were colonized, and now they have their own varieties of English. Okay, and we need to respect this diversity and value and cherish that the language has become an inheritance from early settlers or colonizers into now very diverse forms that deserve to be respected, regarded, and valued. Okay, and English is for communication, essentially. Okay, this is it. I think I've gone over the time. I'm going to pass the control of the session now to the Professor Randy, who I think is the one in charge of keeping our session going. And because there's going to be some closing before we're over. I'd like to say that you have in classroom once more, because I already said that, and I'm going to insist on this. You have the reflections for days 4 and 5 already posted. Thank you very much for your attention, your cooperation, and your participation in this seminar, which is yours. Okay, it's your seminar, and I hope this has helped us enlighten some of these concepts and understand, for example, things like native speakerism. It's bad. Okay, it is bad because it is not the solution to anything, and that we have uh, rejected that there are also important programs all over the world that consider culture as a key element for people to learn or master. It's important. It is very relevant, and it's necessary for international relations. Also, we need to remember that this is connected to the University of Panama situation, that universities will benefit from intercultural competence because of accreditation. This is an opportunity. It is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. Okay, this is the thing. So it's two sides of the same coin. That's the way I'd like to put it. Okay, if you have any final comments or you'd like to say something, I'm open to listen to you. But not without thanking you enough for being in session with me.
Well, we want to thank you, Professor Cárdenas, for your time, knowledge, and information, right? Well, the topics were very useful and different. So at this time, we are going to have the participation here of Professor Ho, head of the English department, and Professor Leidiana Hills, assistant dean of the College of Humanities.
Professor Ho, Mr. Hills. Professor Ho, are you there? Okay, sure. I wasn't sure who was going to talk first, so I thought was maybe Lady Anna. Well, so nice to see everybody. Good morning. Yes, there's good morning, not good afternoon yet. Good morning. Professor Leidiana Hills, Assistant Dean, Chairperson of the different programs of the English Department, the organizing committee for this seminar, guest speakers, and dear colleagues. I know it's Friday. I know you're tired, so I'll be short, precise, and concise. Beyond words, the transformative impact of culture on English education. That was a seminar for this week. I'm sure that a lot of knowledge has been shared this week with Professor Cárdenas, and that you have been able to work with new and old acquaintances or colleagues. With the knowledge acquired in this seminar, there is no doubt that teaching will be improved in our classrooms. If you analyze how lucky we are to be in this academic environment of learning and sharing, while in other countries, this is not possible, if not impossible. Why? Because many countries are in wars and they do not have the freedom that we have. Sometimes we take things for granted and then we don't realize how lucky we are. It is true, we don't have everything that we would like to have in our classrooms, but we have more than other people. Besides, we have people like Professor Cárdenas who offer their time for help, to help other people. So we should be grateful for that and for other things that we receive in life without hurting other people. Our thanks to the organizing committee, to our guest speaker, Professor Rafael Cárdenas, who has been sharing his knowledge with the group for the whole week. And thanks to all of you for being so kind. And there is a special request that all of us is asking this group to please pray for our country, for the amount of problems that we're going through. And the university is also having a lot of problems. So we need a lot of your prayers so that we will be able to return to normal life. Professora Suri was sharing some of the situation that we were going through with the students who were going to for international experiences, and with a student in India, that in order for him to return, the university could not get the okay from Contraloria, and we couldn't get the ticket so that he could return to Panama. He had to return by his own means, which is really, really terrible. So let's pray for our university so things will improve, because we do need to return to normal life. So please enjoy your weekend, and thanks all of you for being here. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Professora Leidiana.
Good morning. Thank you, Professor Ho. Good morning, everybody. Good morning again, Professor Gloria de Ho, and all the authorities of the English department, Professor Rafael Cárdenas, who has been the speaker of the week, organizing committee, continuing education, and of course, to you all, dear colleagues who participated of this seminar. Actually, it has been a great honor for the College of Humanities, in collaboration with the English department and continuing education, to host this seminar. The seminar that was named Beyond Words, the Transformative Impact of Culture on Adult English Education. Such an important topic, because sometimes we feel that it's just methodology, and we kind of forget a little bit culture. And culture is such an important part of the learning process of a foreign language. And we need to be aware of those things that are beyond the words that we need to know about in order to have a good communication. Sometimes it's space, sometimes it's slangs, expressions, but culture is involved because we speak what we have inside us. So thank you, Professor Cárdenas, for such an important topic for this week. As we conclude this seminar, I would like to express our gratitude again to the PhD student, Professor Cárdenas, who has shared his expertise and research regarding the impact of culture in the learning of the English processes involved in the learning of a second language. Our appreciation to the organizers for their dedication and hard work to make this seminar a valuable source of information and techniques that we can include in our daily teaching processes and routines. We thank you all, dear colleagues and participants, for your enthusiasm in the development of the different activities done during this week. Your participation made this seminar a success. Without you, we could have not reached to this ending where we have this information that we can share, that we need to internalize, that we need to practice, and in order to make better our classroom techniques. We are sure that the knowledge gained during this week may encourage us all to continue growing as professors. There is never an ending for the learning, adapting, and innovating processes involved in the search of the best methods to motivate our students to learn and grow as human beings and professionals. It's very important that we combine these two things: people, human beings, and also knowledge. With nostalgia, we declare this seminar closed. Thank you all. We hope you put into practice all the knowledge shared and obtained in this seminar. Best wishes, and let's continue gathering to share knowledge for the benefit of bilingual education in our country. Return back to your daily routines and have a good day. We will see soon again in the next seminar that Professor Marisol and the committee will offer us. Thank you very much for your presence in this seminar. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you, Professor Ho and Professor Hills, for your words and time. Now let's see if Professor Marisol has any questions or comments.
Well, thank you, Professor Ho, Professor for your words and your encouragement. And thank you for the participants of this seminar. Well, just some observations. Remember to do your assignments. Professor Rafael already told you that he has uploaded the assignments in Classroom. So please access and do the assignments. Professor Rafael, how long will they have to do all of the assignments? How long more are you going to give them? 1 week? 2
Yeah,
weeks?
full week is okay. Until the beginning of the semester.
So you have until the beginning of the semester to deliver your assignments. So, but I would advise you to do them, I mean, as soon as you can, because I mean, when the beginning of the semester comes, you have to prepare your classes and you won't have much time. So that's just an advice, just a piece of advice. Thank you. That will be, thank you very much. God bless you all. Have a great weekend. As Professor Hill said, go back to your daily routines. Don't forget to do your assignments.
Right.
Thank you, Randy. The floor
Yes.
is
Yes, well, we have finished this wonderful seminar. Thank you, Professor Cárdenas, again for your time, right? So let's see back again soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful week.
bye there. Have a wonderful weekend. And a week too, new week. That will be. Hello, Professor Liliana. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Professor Cardenas, for all the great information and all the coordinators. Thank you so much. It was a great opportunity.
Thank you, Anna. See you.